railway officer long back. In 1960, I was at Bilaspur in Madhya Pradesh, working for construction branch of Southeastern Railway. At that time, eastern part of the country witnessed a tremendous amount of railway construction due to the setting up of Virai, Rourkela and Durgapur steel plants and the connection given to Vizag port from central India. The scale of railway construction witnessed during that period has not been matched ever since. And Indian Railways had no previous experience of handling such a load. But Japan was having a massive railway construction program at that time. So Indian Railways decided to send somebody to Japan, study their methods and see if we could adopt any of their practices. A colleague of mine by name Chelam was sent. After he returned from his tour, there was a debriefing session at which he told us what had happened during his visit. What he said was this: when he reached the JNR, that is Japanese National Railway, JNR headquarters, a senior officer of JNR, let us call him J, received him, and the two had a very long talk. Chelam gave an overview of the projects we were handling, and J in turn outlined the projects which JNR were handling. After it was over, J asked Chelam, how many people do you employ in your organization? Chelam said, about 1,000. J jumped, 1,000? You have 1,000 employees. Chelam clarified, no, that represents only our regular staff. In addition, we employ a large number of casual labor on daily rates. So our regular employees total about 1,000. Then Jay asked, why do you require so many people? Don't you employ contractors? Chelam said, of course we do employ contractors, but there are lots of things which we have to do ourselves, and that requires a large workforce. Jay sir, I don't understand why you require so many people when you have contractors doing the job. Can you tell me what your people do? Then Chelam gave a rundown of all the activities which our employees were doing. He said, at the outset we have a large design organization. They do the route survey and then fix the route and alignments, and the formation levels and specifications, take the necessary approvals and financial funds, and then they call for tenders and let out contracts. At that stage, the work passes on to us at the site. And the first job at the site is earthwork in formation and earthwork in cuttings. This is given to the contractor. Contractors men come and dig borrow pits, excavate the soil and dump it on the ground to raise the level up to the required formation level. Where the ground level is higher than the formation level, they cut it down to the formation level. Though they work in embankment and cuttings is done by a contractor, we have to have our supervision because a lot of money is involved. We pay the contractor according to the type of soil excavated. We pay a very low rate for ordinary soil, very high rate for hard rock requiring blasting, intermediate rates for soft rock, muram, etc. So it is necessary that we supervise and make sure that each strata of soil is segregated and kept properly measured for proper measurement. The measurement is done by our site engineer and he records them in the measurement book. But then the building is not done by him. We have a division engineer who comes, checks that there is no pollution between the engineer and the contractor, and then he sends the bill to the accounts office. The next job is to place the ballast bed on top of the formation. For that we call for tenders for supply of stone chips. The contractor supplies stone chips, and the engineer has to make sure that it is all granite of the required size and measure the ballast and then pay for it. But putting it on the formation is done by our people. We employ a lot of casual labor because it's a very sensitive job. Formation has to be compacted and this has to be put to the right height for safety purposes. Similarly, the placement of sleepers on the ballast and the rails on the sleepers and tying them up using fish plates and tie bolts is also done by us. We use casual labor. But the work in bridges and construction of buildings, we give it to the contractor. That also requires constant supervision by our engineers. For example, when foundation is being dug, we have to make sure that it digs to the right depth. And when concrete is mixed, we have to be there to see that it mixes the right 124 or 136, the right reinforcement rods are kept, and then curing period is correctly observed. So we have our engineer practically stationed throughout. And we don't trust the contractor to bring his own materials. We have our own purchase officer who buys steel and cement, and we have a string of depots all along the route which stock these and the contractors draw as and when they require. I told you about the accounts department. They not only pay the contractor and salaries for the staff, they also pay a lot of amount to the daily rated labor, for which they send cashiers with cash chest, security guards and a fingerprint inspector. Now Jay asked, why a fingerprint inspector? Then Chellam said fingerprint inspector is necessary to ensure that there are no ghost workers. Then Jay said, ghost workers, do ghosts also work on your project? Then Chellam said, no, that's a term we use to describe non-existent workers. And he explained, supposing an engineer employs 150 laborers, he will make a muster roll of 250, including 100 fictitious names. And the cashier will carry the cash required for paying 250 people, but there is only 150 on the ground, and the amount meant for 100 will be shared between the engineer and the cashier. To avoid this, we send the fingerprint inspector, and he will see that 250 bodies come and receive the payment and affix their thumb impressions. We will compare the thumb impressions with the thumb impressions taken when they were engaged and make sure that there is no hanky-panky. Jay was a bit skeptical. Do you think this will eliminate your ghost worker problem? Then Chellam assured him, yes, this is a time-tested system we are following. And then Chellam said, I told you about our accounts office, a very large accounts office, but we have also an audit officer attached. He will make sure that there is no collusion between the accountant and the engineer. Executive. And our site engineers are supervised by division engineers. They are supervised by deputy chief engineers. We have an engineer in chief and we have a chief engineer who reports to general manager construction of Calcutta. Since we handle at the same time a very large number of projects, then we have to have about 1,000 people, and there are so many people, so we have to have our own townships. We have estate managers, we have civil engineers, electrical engineers and waterworks engineers, security people and medical center. And since we employ a number of drivers, jeeps and vans and trucks, we have our own workshop, petrol. It's a huge organization. 1,000 people are not enough. In fact, we are understaffed. You can do with a little more. So Jay was very impressed. He said, marvelous. I wonder at the types of jobs your people do. Then Chellam was filled with a lot of pride. Now Chellam asked Jay, how many people do you employ? He said 40. 40? Just 40? You mean to say 40 people are managing your huge, massive construction organization? Jay said, I said 40, it could be 39, 41, 42, to that order. Then Chellam said, what do you mean? How can you manage all the jobs I have just now listed? You mean to say all these are taken care of by 40 people? Then Jay said, no, our system is different. We have a design organization just as you have. But once they finalize the design and then call tenders and finalize the contracts, entire work is given to the contractors. We have competent and experienced contractors who take care of all these items which you have just now listed. Then Chellam asked him, are you not taking a big risk in doing this, handing over your entire responsibility to the contractor? Jay asked, what risk? Then Chellam said, will that the contractor not cheat you left and right? Then Jay asked, how will he cheat us? The specification of our work is given to him. The contract is very clear. How can he cheat us? Then Chellam said, he will cheat you in 101 ways. He will use substandard steel. He will use inferior cement. He will not dig the foundations deep enough. He will not do curing. You don't know. The contractors have a way of cheating on every account. How are you taking this risk? Then Jay said, I don't understand you. Why should he do all this? Then Chellam said, what a question you are asking. Why does a contractor cheat? He cheats in order to make more money and save time. Then Jay said, how will he save money? Then Chellam asked, I don't understand your question. Will he not save money by cheating? Then Jay said, the whole thing is hypothetical. I don't understand what you say. But in my experience, all this doesn't happen. And so we don't have to have any checks on what the contractor is doing. And but then Chellam insisted, I tell you are taking a very grave risk. And how do you trust your contractors? The reply of Jay was, you see, it's all hypothetical. I have never seen in my service all these things which I have listed. But assuming for argument's sake that a contractor does anything like that, it will always get known. Even if a hint of that comes out, nobody in Japan, either in private sector or public sector, will give him any more jobs. He will lose his entire business. Where is the question of his making money? He will lose his business. Chellam didn't know what to say. So after a minute of silence, he said, I admire you. Because of the societal norms and the ethical value of your people, you are able to operate entirely on trust, and you are able to save on manpower and resources. Unfortunately, we can't follow this system in our country. Then Jay said, I agree with you. If you can't trust your contractor, you must have an army of supervisors and site engineers and purchase officers and supply officers and fingerprint examiners and accountants and auditors, and each one of them must be supervised by 2 or 3 levels of supervisory staff. If that is the way you want to manage such a huge construction organization, I think 1,000 people are not enough. You may need 3,000 or 4,000 people. Chellam gave this narrative, this conversation, and said, frankly, I don't think we can copy their way of working. It's not possible. But there are some technical aspects in the working which I have noted down, which certainly you can follow. I am making a report on these lines and sending to the railway board. Let me fast forward by 25 years. Come to 1985. In 1985, I was finance director of Bharat Electronics in Bangalore. That year, the company was selected for what is known as comprehensive appraisal. Every public sector company comes up for a comprehensive appraisal every 5 years. This is an appraisal done by the C&AG's people. They send a large group of officials who go into working of the company A to Z and come up with a big report listing omissions and commissions. This report is submitted to a parliamentary committee known as SK.CK, Committee on Public Undertakings. SK.CK goes into this report, then goes over to the company, meets the chairman, grills him and his directors, and come out with their own report. This report is submitted to the parliament, and it is printed and sold as a prize document by the government. As I said, that year BEL was selected for comprehensive appraisal, and the COPU came to discuss with us the report of the Auditor General. The meeting took place in the boardroom. Even though I had handled the entire interaction with the C&AG's people, being a finance director, I had to provide the data, clarifications and replies. But protocol required that only the chairman should answer the COPU. Our chairman at that time was Major General Shyamal Ghosh, a extremely physically fit 6-footer with a clipped accent and stentorian voice. And the chairman of the parliamentary committee was Valapadi Ramamurthy, was a Congress MP. Ramamurthy had noted down all the major points brought out by the audit and discussed one after another. One of the points raised by the audit related to the manufacture of TV picture tubes. All of you know that the picture tube is the most important part of any television set. It's a glass tube of conical shape made of a very, very special glass. And the base of that tube is the screen which you see. For making the TV picture tube, phosphorescent material is sprayed on the screen and the tube is evacuated, and an electron gun is fitted at the tip. That electron gun emits electron beams which crisscross the screen vertically and horizontally at a very high speed, lighting it up at various places and producing the pictures which we see. This TV picture tube was being manufactured in BL with the technology imported from Japan. The company which gave us the technology is known as NEC. The process which we adopted was identical to what NEC were using. The quality standards which we adopted were also identical. But while the rejection rate in NEC was 5%, it was 15% in Bell. In other words, out of every 100 picture tubes manufactured, Japanese rejected only 5 tubes. We rejected 15 tubes. This is because there was a difference in the way the tubes were accepted. After the tube is produced, you look at the screen, if there are no blemishes, it is accepted as the A-class tube. If there are a few blemishes, it is accepted as B-class tube. If there are a few more blemishes but still within a reasonable number, then it is accepted as a C-class tube. The rest of them are rejected. This is the Japanese standard. Japanese accepted all the 3 A, B, C classes. In Bell we accepted only A-class tubes. We rejected B-class tubes and C-class tubes. So CAG people said, the company has lost so much money by rejecting B and C-class tubes. In addition, they have wasted foreign exchange resources of the country to this extent because all the materials are imported. So Vadapudi Ramamurthy took this up and said, General Ghosh, how do you answer this point? Why are you rejecting B and C-class tubes? World over, the Japanese are renowned for their very high quality. If they can accept B-class tubes and C-class tubes, why can't you? You think you are holier than the Japanese. And by this policy, you are not only wasting your money, but you are wasting countries' foreign exchange resources. Why are you doing this? What answer do you have? General Ghosh thought for a while and said, we are doing this because Japan is Japan and India is India. And Vadapudi Ramamurthy did not like it. What are you saying? Japan is Japan and India is India. Is this the way you answer a parliamentary committee? Is this your answer to the audit point? Then General Ghosh said, I'm sorry sir if I have offended you. Please give me 2 minutes and you will understand why I made this statement. Then he explained like this. Sir, there is a strong industry code in Japan which requires that only A-class tubes should be put in television sets which are used in homes and hotels. B-class tubes are to be put only in monitors which are installed in factories and other places where workers look at it for a minute or 2. C-class tubes are to be put where there is remote viewing, such as in bus stands and railway stations, for making announcements regarding arrival times and departure times and bay numbers and all that in colorful characters. The industry in Japan strictly follows this and therefore it works. But if in India I accept B-class tubes and C-class tubes and sell them at the low price as seconds and tell the buyers that they should not be put in television pictures, television sets, you can rest assured 90% of them will be put into television sets and land up in our drawing room. I do not want the name of BEL for quality to be compromised. That is why we are doing this. And after a while he said, we in Bell are second to none in our love of India. We are patriotic citizens, but facts are facts. As Chief Executive of the corporation, I have to make sure that I maintain the quality standards of this company. And then he rounded off by saying, now sir, I am sure you will appreciate why I said Japan is Japan and India is India. I have now given you two instances related to Japan and India, separated by 25 years. The story is the same. The point I want to make is that the level of corruption or dishonesty in any society depends on societal norms and ethical values of the people. Unfortunately, they are not very high in India. They have not been very high at all ever since we got our independence. We have been having scams and scandals right through. In Pandit Nehru's time, we had the Jeep scandal and Mandara scam. In Rajiv Gandhi's period, we had this Bohor scam. In Sonia Ji's period, we are having 2G scam, CWG scandal. We have never been without a scam right through. But we have also been off and on making some efforts to meet this menace of corruption. In the 70s, government appointed a committee under the chairmanship of K. Santanam, a very respected parliamentarian of those days. Some of you might remember the name. The committee were asked to go into the issue of corruption in government services and suggest ways to combat corruption. The committee made a very, very important point. They said there are two types of corruption and we must clearly distinguish our attitude towards them. I will illustrate the two types by taking a few examples. Assume that two babies are born on a Wednesday in a nursing home, and the hospital authorities tell the fathers of the babies, we will be sending our weekly report of births and deaths on Friday evening. So on Monday morning, if you go to the corporation office nearest to your place, you can get the birth certificate of the babies. So father of one of the babies lands up in the corporation office on Monday at 10 o'clock. He is told that the prescribed fee for issue of the birth certificate is 25 rupees. And he asked the counter clerk, can I get it today? I want it today. That man said, no, it's not possible. First of all, I have to make sure whether the weekly report has come, and I have a lot of work being a Monday morning. I can't be attending to only this. Now this chap takes out a 50 rupee note, and along with his copy of the hospital's birth certificate, somehow you must help me. I am flying to Bombay today in the afternoon. I must carry the birth certificate because I want to make the passport for the baby. It's urgent. So the man looks at the 50 rupee note and says, go and sit in the bench there. I'll see whether the report has come. Within 5 minutes he is called and the birth certificate is given. 1 hour later, the other father goes. He also learns that the fee is 25 rupees. So he goes to the counter, takes 2 tenors of 1 fiver and along with the birth certificate given by the hospital, just tries to push it in and says, I want to take the birth certificate today, I want to go to Madras, I have already taken too much leave. The counter clerk says, no, I can't give you today. Birth certificate, weekly report has not come from that nursing home. That nursing home always does this. Every time they are sending 2 days late, 3 days late. I am not sure whether it will come even by tomorrow. In any case, you come on Wednesday. I will see if I can help you. Our gentleman goes on Wednesday and takes out again these 2 tenors and 1 fiver. And then he looks at them and says, sorry, my colleague has gone on leave. His mother is seriously ill. He is coming only day after tomorrow. You come on Monday. We are not going to stand in the corporation office ever for all time, so we will come away. We don't know what happened there. So, take another case. You want to go urgently to Madras. You don't have a reservation for the night. You go to the station half an hour earlier, to first floor, TT's room, meet the person who is going to man the train, and then tell him it's very urgent, I have to go. Please help me, you must give me a berth, and offer 100 or 200 depending on the class. That man may take the 100 or 200 and say, go down. Okay, I'll help you, but go there, I will come. If the train comes, we'll see. So the gentleman goes and joins a group of waitlisters, all anxiously waiting. The TT comes, everybody all of them mob him. He gets in and then checks the no-show cases and says, calls the waitlist number 1 fellow and says, go to berth number 11. Then he calls waitlist number 23, berth number 23. Waitlist number 3, go to 34. Waitlist number 4, go to 45. Then calls you and says, go to 27. Then he calls waitlist number 5 and says, sorry, there's no berth for you. The fellow says, you could go to the unreserved compartment and meet me at Bangarapet. If there is any vacancy, I'll give you. That fellow becomes wise at that point of time. Sorry, I can't go. It's a very, very crowded thing. I can't get into that. I'll stand here in the corridor, wait till Bangarapet, and then I'll give you something. Please adjust. Then he says, go and sit there. That's the TT's seat. So go and sit there, let me see. I think we are in a great hurry. We are not going to wait and see what's going to happen. We leave them. These two cases involve no loss of revenue, no harm to the society. They involve only injustice to individuals. The Santan Committee said, these are cases of speed money. Distinguish them from hardcore corruption cases. I give 2 other cases. A taxpayer, more properly to be called tax evader, is summoned to the income tax office. The deputy commissioner tells him, you have understated your income by 1 crore 10 lakhs. Here is the file. We have investigated your income from chit fund investment brokers and registrar's office and banks, and we are sure at least 1.1 crores you have suppressed. Better revise your return and file it. Otherwise, if we take it up, it will be serious for you. Our friend says, how can I find so much money? You must help me. I will give you 1 lakh rupees and you just adjust. Adjust is a very, very versatile term which all of us use. Adjust. The deputy commissioner says, 1 lakh for 1 crore. Are you mad? You must give me 6 lakhs. That's the concession rate. I should have asked for 8 lakhs. How they are going to settle that issue, we leave. And we'll go to the next case. In the drug controller's office, a spurious drug manufacturer comes with a lot of excitement and anxiety. He meets the drug controller and says, sir, what is this? Your drug inspectors are chasing me for the last 1 week. They are giving you no peace. Only 5 months ago I gave you 5 lakhs. And you said I will have no problem for 1 year. Now these people, ever since I released Tantex 450 in the market, they are after me. And they say that, no, I must pay money. So please tell them not to harass me. Now drug controller says, are you mad? You want me to adjust your 5 lakhs for a 30 crore business? Tantex 450 is the leader in that segment. And you are going to make at least 30 to 40 crores by selling duplicates. And you want me to set it off against that 5 lakhs? That is for our existing business. You must pay me separately for this Tantex. So our friend sees the point, I agree. You have a point there, I will give you 10 lakhs rupees. 10 lakhs rupees for a 30 crore business. I cannot tell you anything till I meet the minister. And minister will certainly ask for 10 lakhs himself. And I have other people also to take care of. Nothing less than 25 lakhs rupees. Again, we are short of time, so we leave them to negotiate the way. So these 2 cases, the Satana committee said, are hardcore corruption cases. They involve either loss of revenue for the government or harm done to the society or both. So they said, instead of spreading your resources thinly over every complaint that comes regarding corruption, go slow on speed money cases. Concentrate on hardcore corruption cases. I think there is sense in what they said. To show you how much harm can be done by a corruption case, I will cite one more experience in my railway days. In 1975, I was a vigilance officer at the headquarters of Southern Railway. We were 3 vigilance officers. I came from the finance stream. My friend J.J. Rao, an IRS engineer of 15 years standing. came from the engineering branch. Third was one Vaidilingam, another
Traffic.
class 1 officer from
Traffic.
not traffic but stores material.
Vaidilingam traffic.
No, other Vaidilingam, two Vaidilingams. These were stores Vaidilingam.
Okay.
We all reported, 3 of us reported to the chief vigilance officer who was Ramamurthy, also a senior deputy general manager, number 2 in the railways. Our job was to investigate complaints of misdemeanor received anonymously or through written complaints. We also used to take suo motu cases on our own. We would take some cases on our own individually, some cases we would investigate jointly. Hunting in pairs, as they say. One joint investigation which J.J. Rao and I conducted related to permanent way track between Bellary and Bospet. I will give you a little detail of that. For almost a month, the 2 of us stationed ourselves at Bellary Junction. Every morning after breakfast, we would get on a push trolley and set off. 2 furlongs, we would get down, measure the height of the ballast bed at 20 points on either side of the track. Then get on the push trolley and then move another 2 furlongs, get down. At each point we note down the location and made these measurements. Go on making these measurements up to 1 o'clock. You know how hot Bellary sun could be. So it was very enervating, very tiring. By 1 o'clock or 1:30 we will finish our job, go back to Bellary, have our lunch and doze off. Again resume next morning. 20-25 days we measured, nothing measuring the height of the ballast track between Bellary and Bospet. Now that track had undergone track upgradation twice in the previous 10 years. Whenever railways want to speed up passenger trains on a track or allow heavier weights in goods trains, they have to strengthen the track. And one of the measures required is to increase the height of the ballast bed. This has happened twice on that section in the previous 10 years. Once 6 inches to 8 inches. After a few years, it is supposed to have been raised from 8 inches to 10 inches. On each occasion, they had called for tenders, got ballast supplies, and paid the contractors, and put them on the track and raised. This is what the paper said. But the measurements which we made gave an entirely different story. Nowhere was it near what they had claimed. It was always 3 to 4 inches, whereas it should have been 8 to 10 inches. That is a fast express train and heavy goods trains were going on tracks supported by half the strength of the ballast which they should have had. Can't imagine a worse crime in the railways than this. There we went to the divisional engineer's office, collected the names of the engineers who had supervised and certified the completion of work, collected the names of the contractors who are supposed to have supplied the ballast and amount they have been paid for, made a huge report and gave it to the CVO. The report caused a flutter in the railways. It led to 3 very important consequences. One consequence was this. Shortly thereafter, the Santanam committee to which I made a reference visited Southern Railway. And a letter came from the railway board saying, any employee who wanted to meet the Santanam committee should be allowed freely to meet them. No approval should be taken, no approval should be demanded. Need not even inform the seniors. They can go and meet the Santanam committee either in the guest house where they were staying or in the office when they came. And this was to be given wide publicity. This was given wide publicity. It was put on all notice board in the railway office. But a day before Santanam committee came, the CVO sent for us, 3 of us. He said, if I hear that any of you have met the Santanam committee, there will be a serious consequence for the person involved. Please keep off. Don't go and meet. Second consequence was, I was summoned to Delhi and asked to meet the director in charge of vigilance in the railway board. The director in charge of vigilance in the railway board was S.K.CK, whose wife was a younger sister of our Mrs.S.Krrishnan. Chakravarti and I were good friends. We had been together at Rourkela. I was unmarried at that time and I had enjoyed the hospitality of Mr. and Mrs. Chakravarti many times. But friendship is different. Here, official relationship. I was being called to face the music of the railway board. So I went to Chakravarti's room. He told me, Krishnan, what have you people done? You have created a mess. You have put the entire railway board in a very embarrassed situation. If you had taken up 1 or 2 engineers and booked them, it's okay. If you had taken 1 or 2 contractors, fine. How can you book so many engineers and so many contractors? How can we proceed? How can we take action against them? You should have thought of it before you took up this investigation. At least when you made some progress, you should have seen that this is a problem. You are going to place the railway board in a serious problem. You should have backed off. And now you have created this mess. You tell me how to solve this mess. I don't know what he expected from me. But I told him, I can understand your predicament. I'm sorry that you are having to handle this case. But look at it from our standpoint. A serious issue of public interest is involved. Issue of this is safety of traveling public is at stake. How can we avoid bringing it up? We would be failing our duty if we don't bring it up. I'm sorry, there's no way I can help you. So I don't know what Chakravarti had in mind, but he found that I was making no progress with me. So that came to an end, that meeting came to an end. The third consequence was actually tragic. The CVO called J.J. Rao and told him, here is a suspension order. Here is a charge sheet under Anti-Corruption Act. We are charging you under Anti-Corruption Act for assets disproportionate to the income. We have hard material, we have collected enough evidence to show that you have assets disproportionate to your income. I will give you one choice. If you resign immediately, apply for leave to cover your notice period, I will not sign the suspension order and the charge sheet. If you do not resign, I will suspend you immediately and issue the charge sheet. J.J. Rao wanted 10 minutes time, came back to his room, thought about it and went back and gave his resignation. Now, J.J. Rao was the most honest, most conscientious engineer I have ever seen in the railways. And he was booked under Anti-Corruption Act. And that's an interesting story. Like many engineers who came from Andhra, J.J. Rao also came from an agricultural background. He had rich agricultural land in his village and his mother was looking after the lands. At that time, some of you might remember, India was going through a period of food shortage, PL 480 or whatever it is. And there was a 100% levy system in Andhra Pradesh. Under that system, every farmer must hand over 100% of the paddy produced to the state procurement corporation, keeping only what is required for his family. And he would be paid the rate fixed by the state government. This is the law. No farmer did it. Every farmer parted with only 40 to 50% to the state agency. Rest of it they gave to the millers who gave them much higher price. J.J. Rao's mother also did the same thing. Unfortunately, she put all the money in bank account of J.J. Rao. Money is received from Food Corporation as well as the money is received from millers. So the anti-corruption department went, totaled up all the money is received from the millers, and they made a case saying that this is asset disproportionate to income. He could have got it only by corruption, demanding contractors and subordination. Now J.J. Rao was in a bind. If he tells the truth, that no, this is money received from millers, he would be booked under the procurement law. If he did not, then how does he explain how much of money in his bank account? So he thought he will take the safer course and quit. You can ask me, I was a 50% partner in that investigation. How did I escape the same fate? Huh? There are two reasons for it. One reason is I had no assets either proportionate or disproportionate to income. So they couldn't fix me on that. But more important reason is that in the meanwhile I had received an offer from BHEL. They offered me the post of a deputy financial advisor at the Trichy plant, which I found attractive. So I had accepted. And so the problem of Chakravarti and problem of Ramamurthy was solved. J.J. Rao had disappeared from the scene by resignation. Krishnan disappeared from the scene by deputation. So I am not going to offer a prize to any of you for guessing what would have happened to the voluminous report we had submitted. Now, this is the story of J.J. Rao. Today we hear so many people saying that corruption has reached the limit these days, and it was never like this. When we were in service, it was not so bad. I don't think it's correct. This case I related to you is 1975, 4 decades ago, and it is as bad or worse than any case which you can see today. The Commonwealth Games collapse of structures is nothing compared with the criminal act of not doing the job in the ballast case, and the harassment of the whistleblowing Kemka IAS is nothing compared with what J.J. Rao had to go through. So I don't think the corruption level has increased. Perception has increased. Publicity has increased. For example, we have a number of small parties led by all corrupt people whose only job is to malign the party in power so that they can discharge it and get there and make the money for themselves. Second is, we have this sensation mongering Tinsel TV, who themselves are corrupt to the core, and they are playing up everything. The Tinsel TV was not there to blow up J.J. Rao's case and our Bellary hospital scandal. And the parties, apart from Congress, are not much those days on the political horizon. So I don't think there has been increase in the level of corruption. In fact, there has not been increase of corruption over centuries. And there has not been increase in the level of corruption over 2,500 years. Kautilya, in his Arthashastra, mentions a list of 54 methods that were employed by corrupt government officials during his period. The list includes fudging government accounts, embezzlement of funds, overstatement of government expenditure, understatement of government revenue, siphoning of government funds to enrich one's own relatives and friends, and a host of other tricks which are current coin today. In fact, if you read that list, you will wonder whether it was written in the 4th century BC or 21st century AD. So contemporary is that list. So we have a very long history as far as corruption in government services is concerned. Many people think that there could be a quick fix or a surgical treatment to get rid of corruption. That is absolutely unwarranted. Justification is not there at all. When the whole body is infected, where will you put surgeon's life? In fact, there is a curious parallel between the sports scene in India and corruption scene. Every 4 years, when the Olympic Games are over and the medal tally is published, one is ashamed to see that this country of 130 billion figures in the bottom 15 in a 200-nation list. Similarly, whenever there is a corruption index list published, we have to hang our heads in shame when we see that our country figures in the bottom 15, whereas even countries which are poorer than India figure in the top 25. There is a basic root cause which is common between these two phenomena. In the case of sports scene, mad obsession with a pseudo sport called cricket saps all the energies of the country and makes it unfit to achieve anything big in real sports. There are some people who say that the Indians as a race are not athletic. They lack strength, stamina and spring in legs. Therefore, they will never make it big in real sports. Let us therefore pretend that the cricket is the real sport, so that people have the feeling that there is real sport in this country as well. When the Sri Lankan team returned to Colombo after winning the World Cup, and the team was captained by a pot-bellied batsman. The sports minister of Sri Lanka asked the team members to undergo a fitness test. And the test revealed that 7 out of the 11 members who had won the World Cup were unfit for any serious sports activity. That's the correct index of the sports level of the game called cricket. Unfortunately, there is a tremendous amount of support for the game in the country. There is a strong phalanx of forces arrayed in support of the game, and they include corrupt politicians, bureaucrats, mafia dons, bookies, Bollywood, the media houses, and the great corporate houses. It is very difficult to see how such an unholy alliance can ever be broken. Certainly it is not going to be broken in my lifetime. It may not be broken in the lifetimes of many of you here. We can only hope that things will change in the coming generations. Coming to the corruption scene, the hypocrisy and the phony religiosity of major communities in this country have almost pushed basic morality and ethics out of the consciousness of the common man. Things are getting only worse year after year, and one is not sure if and when this country is going to become a just and humane society. I do not want to end this talk on a negative tone, because the same Mauryan dynasty which gave us Kautilya's Arthashastra also gave us Ashoka's pillar edicts and rock edicts. Ashoka Devanampriya erected a number of rocks and pillars various places in India, Pakistan and Afghanistan, which constituted his vast empire. And these edicts embody core elements of all great religions and the quintessence of modern liberal humanistic thought. To those of you who have not had occasion to look at these edicts, or you have those who have forgotten long back, my request is please to set aside 15 minutes of your time. That's all that is required, and have a look at these edicts which are freely available on the internet. That will put you in touch with one of the noblest minds in human history. And you will see that a blueprint for making this country into a just and human society are all there. Unfortunately, we have taken Ashoka's Sarnath lions and put them in our emblem and conveniently forgotten his edicts. It is time that we revive interest in those magnificent messages which came from one of the noblest emperors this country and this world has ever seen. If you browse those edicts, I am very sure you will find it an unforgettable experience. Thank you.